Hello and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, your go-to place for everything Rocket League with your hosts, K-Cube, AJ Binky, and Red. So lean forward, lock in, and get ready to go boost over ball.
You can see a little bit of the background, but I think it still looks good. I think we're still here. I gotta.
Oh my god, it is very close.
I told you it would be. I'm sorry.
You did.
Gotta make sure to put the stream up on my phone. Oh. Gotta use that Prime sub. I was like, why am I watching an ad right now? There we go. Okay. But here we are. Oh. What was that? Was that a... Oh my god. Multiple subs. There we are.
Oh.
Hell yeah. Well, here we are. It is just going to be the two of us for today. Red, unfortunately, could not make it. He had something come up, and I had something come up on Tuesday. So that's normally when we record. So a little bit of a Thursday episode, but it works out kind of well because we'll be talking about some roster rumors at the end here, and so this has given us a lot more time to pick up on some of those rumors. But I don't understand a lot of them, but that's maybe why I'm not an RLCS. One of the many reasons. So, you know, we'll talk about it. But you ready to jump right in?
Yeah, I'm awaiting this Reds roster rumors because it's a CVS receipt.
Oh my! It certainly is. Holy, and I'm sure we're like not even scratching the surface too, because there's like Achilles like released a document about who's trying out, like the likeliness of certain moves happening. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of players on the move. There's a lot of people potentially, you know, in different regions. There's a lot to talk about. But without further ado, hello and welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle, K-Cube, and I'm joined by Quilly and the close-up camera today. If you could see the Video Ninja preview, it's like vertical and he's like way zoomed out, so we had to zoom in to get it to fit the frame here. But here we are. Today, like I mentioned, we'll be talking about RLCS 2026, the format, the lands, the announcements they made about it. We'll talk about in-game Season 20, all the changes that happened to, you know, in the game in Season 20. So, you know, Sonic collab, thoughts on 4v4, new game modes, Rocket Pass changes, premium challenges going away, all that kind of fun stuff, and more before we finish off with the CVS receipt of Red's roster rumors. There's certainly no shortage of that going around, but Quilly, are you ready to go?
Let's get it.
Hell yeah. So the overall format for RLCS 2026, as announced in at Worlds, it will be staying the same. There are still 2 splits, still 3 opens in each split, and then followed by the LCQs and then the World Championship, same as before. However, there's a little bit different. There is a kickoff LAN, a kickoff studio LAN. This is a smaller LAN event to take place in Denmark at the Blast headquarters, and so 2026's RLCS season will get underway earlier than usual. Online opens will begin in November of 2025, leading to a brand new 3-day studio event at the Blast Studios in Copenhagen, Denmark, from December 5th to December 7th to kickstart the 2026 RLCS season. The top 6 teams from North America and Europe competing in Open 1 will qualify for an offline playoff stage in a closed studio. Across the first 2 days, those combined 12 teams will battle through a hybrid elimination stage to crown the NA and EU Open 1 champions. On the final day, the top 2 teams from each region will advance into a 4-team bracket where they'll compete for a coveted 2026 regional slot. The winner not only secures direct qualification to Major 1, but also earns their region an additional 5th slot at the Rocket League World Championships in 2026. That's just the beginning. There are more exciting additions to the kickoff LAN that we'll be revealing in the weeks ahead. So, what are your thoughts on the idea in general of a kickoff LAN, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the specifics.
It's definitely interesting. I will say the biggest like red alert thing, like that's catching my eye, is that it's giving an extra spot to an EU or an NA team, and I'm just wondering where that's coming from because they haven't said anything about if they're rerunning back play-ins. They haven't said anything if there are like if someone's losing a spot, because if someone's gaining a spot, it has to either they're adding teams or someone's losing a spot. So it's really interesting to see what their plan is there. But more Rocket League, you never complain with that. Obviously, you feel bad that it's only a 2-region thing, and obviously the two biggest minor regions being MENA and SAM are emerging. Them not being included is a question mark, but in terms of depth, obviously EU and NA clear by a large margin, so it makes a little bit of sense there. So it's interesting, and yeah, it's good to see them trying new formats, new things to like keep us in, keep it fresh, because that's what everyone's complaining about is how stagnant it gets. Because it was death by Swiss for a long time there too, so it was good to see some change, especially at Worlds. And now, literally to start the season, we're getting EU NA splits same week. And on top of that, we will be getting a straight up head to head between EU and NA.
We certainly are. It also says there is going to be an expanded Rocket League World Championship featuring 20 teams.
Ooh.
So
was there technically 20 at the last one though?
So technically, no, they still kept 16, but the play-ins expanded to 20, like a wild card style situation.
Mm-hmm.
However,
so this is them saying 20 will be there.
Yes. So this, at least to me, says we're doing play-ins for LCQ, but we're not putting number 4 NA. We're not putting, MENA 3 or, whatever it ends up being. They're not going into the play-ins. It's going to be OCE for a final spot. It's going to be, because if you keep NA, yeah, because basically, like, what it is like if you keep NA and MENA, or the winner of the kickoff LAN and NA, right, that like 2 guaranteed major spots, that takes us to 18. So then maybe you're doing a play-in for MENA 3, SAM 3, APAC 2, OCE 2, or SSA 2. Like, so you have 4 teams fighting for 2 spots, essentially, instead of, what we had last year. So I see a path forward for that to be kind of pretty cool, especially early in the season. And I'm glad that they're doing it as a LAN and not as a, an online kind of situation. I think it's just way more exciting when it's a LAN. But I think it's a cool idea. I think, you talked about it when we were discussing it kind of, in the Discord, that like, I'm sure that they've had this idea been cooking up since early last RLCS season. And, people didn't expect MENA to win a major when they did, and to be, in a World's Grand Final, to not like emerge, but like to continue to play as well as they had. So like, I feel like, they're like, well, we already, it's just going to be between the 2 major regions that are always there, and, that's what it's going to be. So I would imagine, like we said, good idea, but I think there's a lot of room for them to improve it and like expand this format moving forward, especially if you have something as big as like an automatic qualification into Major 1 and an extra world spot for your region, right? So like MENA or SAM don't even get a chance to have a say in that.
Yeah, and also to add on to that, it's hard to compare, and as good as Rock did at it, it's hard to compare MENA getting a 3rd spot as compared to NA and EU getting a 5th spot. I feel like that's a huge difference in terms of not only performance, but also notoriety and getting buzz going, as putting 2 of the biggest brand or markets in Rocket League is EU and NA. So to add on an extra team from them is just more viewership and more attention on the sport.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think that you're 100% right. Like we mentioned, I'm still so glad that it's going to be a LAN, but it's the top 6 teams. So from Open 1, right? So there's a lot of incentive here for for these teams to perform as well as possible and to make a top 6, right? And so if you're doing top 6, then it's making me think that we're going back to the AFL style bracket that we have been doing, right? Where you know the group stage into the playoff bracket, where there's a definitive top 6, you know, for teams that make that upper bracket. So I think that's exciting, but you know, nevertheless, Studio LAN, big addition. 1v1 will be returning. Massive success in Lyon and crowning Nubo as the RLCS 1v1 world champion. The opens for the 1v1 will not be happening during the season anymore. They will now be taking place after the conclusion of Split 2. In addition to that, 2v2 was announced that it is going to be entering the competition, so to speak, and we will now have RLCS 2v2 opens that will also happen at the end of Split 2. So the current, you know, kind of date range we have, the start of the season is November 14th with your you know, open qualifiers into Split 1 with the kickoff LAN from 5th to 7th of December. We have the major, which is in North America. The location has not been announced yet, in late February. We have a late March Split 2 start and a major 2 in late May, which has been announced for Paris. So I'm sure a lot has gone into organizing that, and that has already been announced. So we're still awaiting the major 1 location in the U.S. where that will be. And then at the conclusion of major 2 in late May, starting in June and going through till July, we have the 1v1 opens and the 2v2 opens. Towards the end of July into August, we will have the regional last chance qualifiers, and we have a 6-day Rocket League World Championship on September, starting in September, and that location has also not been announced yet. So, exciting times. I'm a little bit copium that we're going to get an NA Worlds, right? Because we had a EU, NA, EU last season, so I'm kind of hoping for an NA, EU, NA. I'm not sure if we'll get that lucky, but especially after the success of the French LAN, but we will wait and see on that one. So, what are your thoughts on the addition of 2v2, the kind of same but a little bit different version of the split, a little bit more time in between splits? It certainly seems like the splits are going to be a little bit more spread out, so it's not just like, you know, 8 weeks of straight Rocket League and then, you know, the end of the split, because that first split is going from November to the end of February.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think 1v1 is a welcome addition. Obviously, it was short, it was sweet. It was one match in each LAN, so it didn't take up too much time. It wasn't too much. I think 2v2, depending on how they implement it, honestly, I don't want to be a negative guy, but I don't know how I feel about this addition. I think because I don't know if org is going to be picking up 5 players. They're going to be having a 2s team, a 3s team. I don't know if it has to be 3 players, and it has to be 2 of them from a team, from a 3s team that has to play in 2s. Have they released any of that information yet?
I believe that it's open sign up, so you can do whatever you want, right?
So an org can have 6 players, but like say if they have 3 players and 2 of them are also playing 2s, will 2 of them be focused more on 2s rather than 3s? Will this be taking from their game and their ability in 3s? Obviously, 3s being the most coveted at being, it's been the play style for ever in RLCS, and yeah, I think 2v2, it might add a little bit of disruption, confusion, maybe a little bit confusing, because I feel like it might be just adding on a little bit more. And if it's going to be also a part of LANs, now we're going to be having 1v1 events and 2v2 events on top of it. So like say if a player's in a 2s event and a 3s event, and he's also the 1s player, like what if Nobu is just playing in 3 different game modes? It's a very confusing thing. So hopefully we get some more input on it, and I kind of feel like maybe RLCS is biting off just a tad bit more than they could chew with this. But I mean, everyone loves 2v2s. Obviously, I think it has like 70 to 80% of playing or players is just 2v2 competitive. So it should be interesting. Yeah, obviously something new is always good, but we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, and I mean, I am interested to see how they're going to implement 2s. Like you said, it is by far the most played game mode in Rocket League. amongst the pros, amongst SSLs, amongst everybody. It is the most popular game mode currently in Rocket League. I'm interested to see if they're going to implement it the same way, right? Because I think general people would watch 2v2 more than they would watch 1v1. There's most likely going to be less goals, but you're going to see more mechanics because there's 2 players on the field. So I'd be interested to see if it's like, one event or one series every LAN like we've been seeing with ones. And again, like you mentioned, I'm interested to see, who's kind of gonna, pick up these players. Are they gonna not really be picked up? Are they gonna come up with team names, or is it gonna be like, Beast Mode Daniel or Dan Mode or whatever you want to say? Because that is a lethal twos team that we've seen before in some of the captains battles, lands like at Gamers 8 and like Beyond the Summit and things like that. But I'm intrigued just as you to see how they kind of roll this out, how the orgs go about either sponsoring or not sponsoring a twos roster, or how they want to do it. I think maybe it might be an opportunity and we'll get to it in Red's roster rumors, but it's not like Shopify this season, but like Shopify last season, like maybe there would have been an opportunity for them to sponsor a twos team, so they'd be at the World Championships in the main event, something like that, right? Like where an org that normally wouldn't get involved or isn't qualified can still have a presence there. I don't know. I don't really know how that works. I know it didn't quite work out for Moxie, but we will have to wait and see on that one. But last but certainly not least, and in my opinion, one of my favorite things that has been added for RLCS 2026 is the new 2/3 rule for every region. This means that in order to compete in a region, you have to have 2 out of the 3 players on your team from the region that you're competing in. So unfortunately for Foot and for Virtus Pro, that will be the end of their run, at least as they were previously constructed. There's a couple of rosters that have been announced that we'll talk about in Red's roster rumors that are changing up just a little bit in order to meet this 2/3 rule. But what are your original thoughts or your initial thoughts on this the 2/3 rule?
Yeah, obviously, Harmonic, friend of the show, friend of us. We love him to death. He's a great personality, but yeah, it stinks for him because obviously they were running SSA, so it's pretty much their way into World. So, but I think outside of our bias of being friends with Harmonic, I think this is a no-brainer rule. It should have been a rule in the first place. I don't know why they. Didn't it used to be a rule and they got rid of it? Or was 1/3?
It was like 1/3. It was like really just because of like the region transfer thing. Like they didn't really have a huge issue with it, but that was before like the open qualifiers, right? In the open qualifiers, they just wanted as many numbers as they could get to sign up for any region that you wanted, and it was really an opportunity for players who, not always, especially this off season, but like maybe couldn't necessarily compete or get make sure that they weren't going to get a spot in their own region. So they figured they'd jump across to a region that's less developed and, kind of take a spot away from one of the teams that are from that region to begin with. So, say what you will, I think it probably raised the level of competition a little bit, regardless of those players not getting to compete in lands. I think that's a real bummer, but I'm glad they implemented this rule now. I think it could be very helpful. And for the players that kind of were over in the other regions, like your Catalysm, he stayed in APAC. He's going to play with a 2/3 APAC roster, things like that. So I'm intrigued to kind of see what happens with that. But
yeah, I also think to add on to that, I also think this makes like import players like going across regions even more impactful. So it's not just one. It's not like a handful of players like Foot just going and taking over a region. You only get one pick at this. So NA teams, you can only take one player from EU. I don't think we've seen any EU transfers yet to NA, but we have seen Sam and our Sam players go to NA. I think there's been a lot of rumors of the big NA players going over to EU. We'll talk about that later. So, but I think this makes imports even more impactful and even more important because you only get one player to do this with. And outside of that, so this has to be a great player you're bringing over. It makes it even more meaningful that you're taking them from their region over to this one. and and building around that or with that. So I think this helps make the regions gives a little bit more nationalism to the regions, and on top of that, just makes it all the more competitive as players will actually be representing their own region.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And excited to see as we get closer and closer to that November start of RLCS 26. I am very interested to see how these rosters shake out, and we keep teasing it, but we will talk about it here in a minute. We got one more topic before we jump into that. So you got anything else on the new season, the format, anything like that before we talk about what's new in season 20 for Rocket League?
I'm just really excited for it. Also, really terrified at the same time. But yeah, no. Rocket League is going to be changing. Is it for the better or is it for the worse? We will only have time to tell that.
Yeah, well, all the new stuff gives us a lot of shit to talk about, though, which is super nice because that's what we do. So, what's new in season?
Also, the shorter off season makes it less of a drag in the off season as we're trying to figure out what to do.
Oh yeah, I know. We started out doing 2 episodes a week during the season just because it was because you'd wrap up like an NA event, and then the next the next episode was like previewing the EU event, so it was like rapid fire, and then you get to the off season, and you're like, well, there's nothing to talk about right now, so I guess we'll try and find an interview or like do some funny exercise like best mythical teams, things like that, which is awesome content, but isn't exactly the news that we normally like talking about. But here we are, a lot to talk about. Shorter off season. We sit less than 2 months away from the next RLCS season, which is phenomenal. There's still Cash Cups going on. We also have the FIFA E World Cup to look forward to in December. There's a lot of Rocket League coming the rest of this calendar year, and I can't wait to see how these rosters kind of settle out. But what's new in Season 20? A new map, Boost Field Mall. Have you gotten a chance to play it? What do you think?
I mean, I like it. I love the 90s feel. It's bringing back malls in the best way because we all know malls are
dying.
Unfortunately, a dying breed.
Yeah.
But yeah, not only is it a mall, it's like I said, a 90s themed mall. As everyone could tell by the Dixie Cup designs on the food court section.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's something unique, something different. So that's always good. I wouldn't say it's the best map in the world that they've dropped. Honestly, one of my favorite recent maps is Driftwood. Is that the name of it?
Driftwood.
Driftwood, specifically the night map. That map is
it's so nice.
Chef's kiss, just because it's aesthetically pleasing. But on top of that, the mall map is aesthetically pleasing. Maybe not as good for competitive, to keep like a good competitive vibe, but in terms of just seeing it and the architecture of it, it's a great and beautiful sight.
I think it looks good. I don't think it's too bright, which is awesome to see. Like you had, Salty Shores. Yeah, Salty Shores. Took me a second there. I don't know why I blanked on that one, but I don't think it's too busy. I think that there's just the right amount of stuff around it. Like for the longest time, and I still kind of do, like Estadio Vita, the stadium that had kind of that Latin Brazilian theme. It just felt like the map was smaller than normal, just because of the way everything was positioned outside of it. I think the Boost Field Mall, they did a good job of good art design, good idea for a map, cool theme for the Rocket Pass, which we'll talk about here in a second, and it's nice to look at. So, but like you said, I don't think it's going to crack the competitive rotation, but it looks good. No complaints.
Yeah. In a weird way, to like low key dox myself, I live near the American Dream Mall, and they have their own like hockey rink that they like transform it. They have like practices and stuff there, so it's like the same vibe as that, but with the 90s aesthetic, so it's a lot better. And being like watching hockey there and like that type of that environment is also a cool thing. So it's a little bit reminiscent of that, but yeah, it's a great addition to the rotation for just regular Rocket League.
Yeah. The second new thing added is a ranked 4v4 mode. So ranked chaos. It is a larger map. It features full 100 boosts on the wall. Yep, you heard that right. On the walls. It, however, was found out recently that this is a competitive rotation that is only for this season. So we might see, yeah, it is a limited time mode. But I would consider it a limited time mode kind of in the same way that like Snow Day Drop Shot is limited time, right? So like it sticks around for a full season and then they swap it out. So maybe there's they have thoughts on bringing another ranked game mode, like maybe a volleyball or something like that. I don't know. But it is limited time for the full season. Not like, it's not going to go away before the season is over. So get yourselves a 4-stack and go play with some friends. You don't need to do in-houses anymore, baby. You can play ranked with 4 people. Quilly, have you gotten a chance to play it yet?
You guys, you have that many friends to fill a lobby?
I have had a chance to play it. I will be honest, not for me.
It's gimmicky for sure.
Yeah, the map's huge, and also I like, obviously you can like in the regular maps you can like have a sense of where all the boost pads are. Now the map's a little bit bigger, everything's stretched out. Not on top of that, like you said, the wall boost, trying to like memorize where that is and just like going up the wall to get a boost rather than rotate is a little bit strange. So I think it's like if it's your type of gameplay, then this is what you've been waiting for the whole time. But yeah, on top, like you just said, 4 stacks instead of being like that awkward, like someone's gonna have to sit out or we have to split up the party and go queue up. Yeah, now you could play as a whole team of 4, and I think it's definitely a fun new addition. I don't think it's hurting anyone having it in, because I think
it's the first new competitive game mode in 7 years.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's a cool new addition. It's not like I said, it's not hurting anyone to have it in the game.
No.
I don't think it's dragging that many people out, because like we also mentioned before, the 2's player base is that huge that unless you're an SSL, you're not really going to have that much problem finding matches or lobbies. So I think it's a cool new addition. I think it gives something new to the competitive rotation, something different. I'm assuming they're not going to be adding it into RLCS anytime soon. So we'll just see how far it goes and if it will make a comeback after season 20.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people when this first was teased at Worlds or was announced. They're like, RLCS 4v4, and I was like, there's just no way. Like, we're not doing this. Like,
I can't believe that was like it was UE5 and competitive 4v4, but like in RLCS was the huge talking points.
Yeah, I was like, that's not happening. The orgs would hate that because they'd have to sign another person. Well, maybe First Killer could actually win then, because if maybe get signed to NRG,
he will be the 4th killer.
Literally. But no, it's something new. It's shiny. It's different. It's fun to like learn a new rotation style, to like have the different, kind of tactics. You kind of send 2 people, 1 person to, 2 people to go monkey instead of 1. It's, it's different and it's exciting because it's new. Will this mode stick long term? No, probably not. You're definitely, at least I'm not, like definitely not solo queuing this. That's crazy. But, I think it's like, I mean, because if you go in casual, sometimes you get like a casual MMR warrior. Sometimes you get someone trying to freestyle. Sometimes you get people who are just like, hey, my younger brother wants to play and like, doesn't know what he's doing, but it's casual, so it doesn't matter, right? But then this kind of seems like a more casual ranked like setting to me, right? Like I played with, a couple people that normally I wouldn't get to play with because of MMR differences, and at least in ranked. And so all of us being able to hop in, because everyone was at the same MMR because it's a brand new game mode. That part was kind of cool, right? You get all kinds of different skill levels and players, and they can still contribute because there's seemingly infinite boost on this field. So that part was kind of cool. But the next thing up for talks is they released a new anti-smurfing measure. They said to access competitive playlists, new accounts will have to complete the new driver challenges. Instead of reaching level 20, these challenges will measure players' skill, placing them in an appropriate starting rank when they unlock access to competitive playlists. This should help new players get into competitive playlists sooner. It should also reduce the instances of smurfing to help ensure fair and fun matches. There's still more work to do to combat smurfing, but we'll keep you updated along the way. So, interesting kind of decision here. They're decreasing the amount of time it takes to get into competitive modes. But based on how you do in these challenges, how quickly you complete them, all of that stuff, it will potentially place you much higher in MMR into the ranked ladder than you normally would. So I think I can kind of see where they're going with this one, right? Like if people are proficient and they're really good at the challenges and they get them done super quick, maybe it puts them in like Diamond or Champ instead of like Plat, right? So like maybe Smurfs will be less prevalent, but somehow I still kind of highly doubt that.
I feel like Smurfs, if you're really that dedicated to dunking on lesser MMR players, you'll find a way. Also, it's very confusing because it like goes off your stats. Like, what's to stop someone from just throwing in them? I haven't seen the stats. I haven't seen like whatever these things are and how it works. Because obviously, if you're making a Smurf account and it's based off your performance, you're obviously not gonna try that or like to have good stats in this. So, it's a little bit confusing. But like I said, I'm not fully informed on what the challenges are specifically or how it measures it. So until that, I can't make a definitive decision on it. But the more they're putting into trying to stop smurfing, the better. But I think smurfing, no matter what, will always be a problem. You can only do so much about it because people are that determined to some reason freestyle on silvers.
Show me a competitive game and I will show you Smurfs, right? That's just like the nature of how it goes. I have not seen the new driver challenges yet. I haven't made a brand new account to do that. So, we'll have to do some digging on that one and try and see if we can't figure out what those new challenges are to kind of, give our final thoughts and opinions on that. But yeah, no, they definitely could just throw the challenges, I would imagine, and, try to get placed as low as possible. And, like I said, in any competitive game, there will always be people that are smurfing. That's just the nature of the game. But, kind of, at least to me, flew under the radar a little bit. There's the Rocket Pass is getting a pretty big revamp. Drops from challenges in the Rocket Pass will be replaced by XP. There are no longer premium challenges for those who bought the Rocket Pass. All challenges will be available no matter if you bought the Rocket Pass or not. You'll earn twice the XP per second from online matches, and you will earn XP from private matches now. So for people who play in Rocket League leagues like MLE, RSC, RKTU, FDL, FTL, United Rogue, all of these things. That is good news for them. For people who, private match warriors, you'll get XP for that. For weekly and seasonal challenges, the average XP per challenge will increase. So really, buying the premium Rocket Pass will only give you access to all of the Rocket Pass items. It will not prevent you from completing the challenges or from getting XP elsewhere. So, kind of some big changes there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I buy the Rocket Pass every season. I don't really look at the challenges. I kind of just play them and I just wait for the little yellow circle that tells me I did a challenge. That's kind of how my challenges go. I've never in my life unless there's like a specific item like that's in the limited time items, like when they do the Star Wars collab or anything like that. Then I will look at the specific challenge, obviously, to get a specific item. But yeah, outside of that, I kind of just have it. Whatever I unlock. I just see it as just funding the game that I'm gonna enjoy playing, and I'm just gonna unlock cool stuff while I do it.
For sure. In addition, just like every season, there's new tournament rewards. I'm not really gonna go into that, but there's new rewards.
I want you to name every single one of them alphabetical order.
I couldn't. There's a lot. There's a lot. In addition, there's a new Sonic collab. They have a Porsche in the shop currently right now. With Sonic items, there's the limited time Sonic game mode. So kind of cool, like you said, to continue to get the partnerships like they have. There was a Kai Cenat car bundle in the shop last week. So kind of some of the carryover from Fortnite, I would imagine, is what we're seeing in Rocket League. But that can only mean good things, right? Because that's more money that you get to inject into the ecosystem, into upgrading servers, upgrading the game in general. So we'll have to wait and see what that money pays for, what it does, or how it's implemented in the future. But nevertheless, still cool to see.
I have one thing.
Yeah,
I have a Easter egg. If no one's seen it for the Sonic collab, while it's still available, when you start up the game and it says please hit any button or hit any button, if you hit up, down, left, right on your D-pad, you get an extra title. So it's a I think it says and Knuckles.
Yes.
So it's like your name and Knuckles going off the Sonic and Knuckles thing. So if you want a free Easter egg tag, so everyone will be like, "Yo, how did you get that?" It's
there. Up, down, left,
it's
right.
a secret.
Yep.
Up, down, left, right.
In the start menu before you hit start.
Don't when it says please hit any button.
Don't hit any button.
Don't hit any button. Just one button.
Other than up, down, left, right. Yep. That's a good one. I would not have remembered to say that, but that is a good one to mention. There's also 2 new cars that have been added in the Rocket Pass. We have the Pontiac Firebird with a breakout hitbox, and we have the Chevy Astro, which will use the Merc hitbox. So cool to see some more like real life IRL cars coming into the game. It's kind of cool. A Pontiac Firebird, 1989 Pontiac Firebird was my first car that I drove when I got my driver's license. So kind of cool to see that in game. I will not be using it. I don't use the breakout hitbox, and I feel like the car looks so small on the field, but nevertheless still cool to have in the game, and for breakout players, another cool car to use. Last but certainly not least, we have the community spotlight, and this season is Lethamyr for right now. So go to the shop to claim your free cartographer title from the item shop in the community tab. I believe it is like the 3rd or 4th one to the right as you go, but that is all for what's new in season 20. Oh man, it might be time.
Oh god, do we break open the seal?
I think we have to. I think we should tag team this one. We go every other if you're cool with that.
Just let me skip the the ones that hurt.
I know. We can work on that. So first and foremost, Coach Cassio announces his retirement from Rocket League Esports. He will still be doing some private coaching on the side, but he has announced his official retirement from RLCS as a coach. So congratulations to Cassio on a great career as a player and as a coach. Hopefully we will, see you around at events and see you around on the internet. But, best of luck with your future endeavors. Next, we saw this saga starting, and I kind of didn't expect it to get across the line, but Drali officially makes the move from EU to MENA and will join the Twins on Team Falcons. TRK leaves Team Falcons and is expected to sign with Twisted Minds to play with the recently re-signed or extended Nupo. Their rumored 3rd world champion Radosin making the jump from EU.
Was that a legit account tweeting that? I thought that was just a meme account.
No, I think that is that. I've heard that second place too.
That would be a diabolical 3rd to get with them.
So TRK Nubo is almost like 100% confirmed. Radosin not like 35%, like 40%, like likely, but not confirmed by any means.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, if Radosin can unlock Nopu and TRK the way he did Nas and Oski, I think this helps them. But again, a lot of this stuff is the language barrier. So really interesting to see what's going to happen. Rado getting a shot from what he showed at the LCQ and at Worlds is great to see for the brand of Rocket League and showing that players can keep it going. But I think it's interesting more than anything. I wouldn't put too much stock. Me personally, I wouldn't put too much stock in Radosin being signed to this team, but anything can happen.
So Drali is Moroccan and does speak Arabic, so can speak with the Twins.
Yeah.
Nubo did English comms with Atomic and Rise last season, and Radosin is French and Serbian and does speak English. So is still possible for him to, TRK's English is pretty good. They do not prefer to speak English, but he can, especially for comms purposes. So I will be interested to see kind of what happens there with that. But do you want to run us through the next two?
Yeah, we got APAC roster. De La Cruz. This is going to be where Sphinx and Catalysm will be still pairing up together. And with a new addition, who's the third they had leave?
Kevin. Oh no,
That's Kevin's who they have coming in.
who did they have leave? It was Sosa.
Yeah, that's who was Sosa. I was trying to think of the Virtus Pro roster. But Kevin will be the replacement for Sosa. So Sphinx and Kevin being the APAC. What was the correct term for them? That's where they're from.
Locals.
Non-imports. Locals. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Term. Catalysm remaining an import and staying in the APAC region. A great team. Definitely, possibly the favorite to run APAC.
Yeah, Kevin is an APAC OG, and he joins our list of first name only teams of Justin, Brad, which still isn't his name, but is really funny, Daniel, and now Kevin. So we got a fourth to add. We got a sub. So
does Reddles? Did we ever decide if Reddles counts?
I don't know. Reddles is on. That's a different conversation for a different day. I feel like.
But yeah, another APAC roster. We have Cash, Furlash, Bars, and Maxiu. I'm not in the up and ups on these players, so
Maxiu is Irish, but has been living his family moved to Singapore to APAC, and he's played there for this will be his fourth season in APAC. He is considered a non-import, so Cash is the import on this team with Furlash and Maxiu.
Interesting.
So we mentioned them earlier. Virtus Pro released their roster and are exploring options to pick up a team in NA or in EU. So interesting, kind of a tier 1 big org like that coming into a major region to pick up a team should be interesting. Also with the departure of Drawley, Carmine Corps is expected to complete the signing of Juicy to round out their roster. So Vatira, Atau, and Juicy.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter they said KC and also Vitality is a team that doesn't really run tryouts. They kind of just get a roster that they think is going to work and they just go with it. So definitely, because this was like one of the first announcements in terms of a signing, because obviously the big news was, is Drawley going to Vitality? Is Drawley going to Falcons? And then right following all of this, which pretty much sealed that he was not going back to KC, was KC rumored to be signing or expected to be signing Juicy, and obviously anything not named Drawley is a downgrade. But in terms of it being how big of a downgrade, obviously Juicy, a great freestyler, great player. I do think Eugen, I thought Eugen would have been a great fit here because of his freestyle abilities. It pretty much would have completely it would have been not obviously a 1-to-1 comparison, but a 1-to-2. Like, this is like a good, like the next best thing in terms of players that could just freestyle at will.
I do believe Eugen was a restricted free agent and Juicy was an unrestricted free agent. So there would have been an added monetary, aspect to that, which I'm sure KC does not care about, but, maybe it played a role into their final decision making here, especially after losing Drawley to what I can only imagine is a absolute bag for him to move to Mina.
I feel like whatever Drawley got is probably the most unfathomable amount of money and possibly monetary rewards, because they just got money like that. Mina is Saudi just has the infinite money glitch. And yeah, they pretty much get whatever they want, and all the power to them. They did it, and obviously Drawley also being technically a Mina player from North Africa, he's still in a region, so it's still big for Mina in general, and also for the Falcons to get this big of a coveted player. But unfortunately, KC has to pay the price of it, as they have to now. They were thrusted into having to find a replacement for a arguably number 1 player in the world.
Yeah. Gentlemates still, to my knowledge, have the rights for Eugen, but are expected to sign Oski and Nas, with Coach Snasky set to coach those two, and I think that they are continuing to look for a third. Tryouts for that are ongoing. Dignitas are expected to let their current roster explore other options, as it was later announced that Vitality are expected to complete the signing of Stizzy to replace Monkey Moon. So the team of Exotic, Zen, and Stizzy I believe will be Vitality's roster moving forward. One of the weirder ones for me, and I have I've been tracking it as much as I can, but Seiko potentially teaming with Joyo and Archie. That is not confirmed, not because of Seiko, but because Archie potentially has other offers.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of rumors, even one of them being Archie possibly being the third with SSG. As we will mention later, was not the third to SSG, so it's really interesting to see where he can go. Obviously, Archie being the most notable player that doesn't play the game. So the fact that he has as much buzz as he does in the free agency market is crazy. But
I mean, he showed out. He showed out at Worlds, though. He had himself a fantastic showing.
He doesn't play the game. He shows up at lands and he kicks ass. I don't know how he does it, but clearly all of the orgs are now respecting it and giving him his flowers, and he seems to be one of the highest sought after free agents in the market right now. But be interesting to see if he stays with Joyo and grabs Seiko as the replacement for Oli.
Yeah. We also now have another region transfer. Spanish player Tekaz, most recently played for Koi and APAC, is making the jump to SSA and will join Guns and Snowy, two former Team Limitless players, and I don't know that Guns was ever on Limitless, but nevertheless, Tekaz, Guns, and Snowy will be competing in SSA. But now we got some NA. We got some NA stuff. Do you wanna take us away with
starting off, we got Reddles announcing, well, technically all of Shopify Rebellion announced at the same time that they were all going to be unrestricted free agents, and Shopify will be going in their own separate direction. Luckily, I got a little bit worried that Shopify would be leaving the scene, but then remembering Shopify is one of the most
involved in
orgs.
This. Yeah,
their net worth is also insane. Money is not an object around them, also. But yeah, to all three of the players are announced at the same time that they were not being kept by Shopify showed that Shopify had something huge lined up.
And what was that? What did they have lined up?
A huge announcement out of nowhere. FK, as in First Killer, LJ, and SSG's prospect, our mid-season prospect signing, Kofer, will be all teaming up under the Shopify Rebellion name and being possibly the number 2 team in NA. I think it's a clear favorite to be the number 2 team in this region. Kofer and FK were rumored to be wanting to pair together, so it was very confusing if they were, or it was a little bit up in the air if they wanted to pair up somewhere else, or if they were going to pair up on SSG, whether they keep reveal, kick reveal, or just go elsewhere. And going elsewhere was the option. LJ is the third. Definitely a choice.
I mean, I love LJ. I still think he's a phenomenal player. I did not see it last season with FK.
Yeah, I think because you see it every season, but also it's every season. Everyone blames FK's teammates. So, but First Killer wanted to keep LJ. He preferred LJ over Reveal. I think Reveal was the selling point of why he didn't want to go to SSG. That, or I've heard a little bit of rumors that SSG didn't want to pay the First Killer price because obviously First Killer's arguably the first or second best player in all of NA. So
outside of NRG,
it still put him over at least 1 or 2 of them.
I don't
personally. But yeah, First Killer is was the biggest free agent in all of NA. So Shopify dishes out the bag and says, "Hey, whoever you want, we'll pay the money. We'll bring him in," and they are able to get Kofer off of SSG, where SSG, a top 8 team, is now having to rebuild around Reveal. And I'll let you take that away.
Okay. Well, in replace of the retired Scribbles and the departing Kofer, SSG announced the roster of Reveal, Chronic, and Diaz, formerly of Complexity. So Diaz is a fantastic player. If he can put it together for threes, I think they have the opportunity to most likely compete for that second or third spot in NA. But we'll have to wait and see. Chronic, kind of an underwhelming season from his standards, especially on at Worlds for the Ultimates. But we shall see what happens with that one. Also, the last one that we have so far is Furia is expected to field a roster of Swift, Yan, and Lost, dropping Drafinho. It was posted, confirmed by Achilles, unconfirmed by Achilles, deleted by Achilles, that Rise was originally going to be going to pair with Yan and Lost. That he was going to be making the jump to Sam to compete with them, but he is not doing that. Rise kind of, I thought he was going to continue his world journey, his world tour of the RLCS scene. So interesting to see that he's not going to be doing that after all. But so, that kind of still leaves Rise at large, so to speak. Does he jump over to a new region? Does he stay in EU and form a team? There's still a couple of, things floating around, but nevertheless, it kind of seems like we have our top three sorted for NA. I mean, NRG still staying at the top. I would assume not making a roster move. We probably have Shopify 2 with that LJFK Kofor squad, and then 3 maybe SSG with Reveal Chronic Diaz. We have Genji sticking, so maybe they can stay fourth. I don't really understand why they stick personally, but, we'll have to wait and see that.
I mean, realistically, I'm just interested to see where Rise is going to go, because obviously Gentlemate's sitting on Husky and Nass. Rise can fit in there, or he can stick around in a different region, or stay in MENA, because obviously TRK and Nobu are going to be looking for a third, and Nobu and Rise obviously know each other. I don't think there's any teams in SAM that have the ability to sign him, being that Yan and Lost weren't able to. So I doubt he's going to settle for a different roster. I doubt that was the selling point for him. It's very interesting to see, because obviously Rise, still without a doubt a top 20 player in the world at least. One of the highest IQs in all of Rocket League. I think he's definitely one of the biggest plug-and-play players. Also, I think one of the biggest teams that could be interested in signing him, if Archie goes elsewhere, that Joyo Seiko combination, you get Rise in there.
Instant crowd favorite.
2/3 of Moist right there. That's a major winner right there.
Yeah. He still stays being the most experienced LAN player in RLCS history. He still continues to perform on the highest stage. I would have to imagine that really the only other roster that maybe could tempt him would be Secret, from Sam at least. But I would imagine that basically it just ends up being a Swift Drafinho trade. That would be my guess. Just because Razebull has already announced his all-Chilean team. Or not announced, but it's rumored that he's going to be playing with an all-Chilean team because he is Chilean. So they probably are looking to snap up that second spot. But just the way that Secret looked at the end of last season, the first time, the Worlds was the first time he missed top 10 ever, I believe. Top 8 in ever. Yeah. But, certainly a CVS receipt, like we mentioned earlier, of roster rumors and news. I'm sure that they'll continue to fly hot and heavy, and that we'll have to do another session like this next week. But was there anything else that you wanted to mention about roster rumors, about the format, about anything else?
Well, obviously, you being one of the most notable FK doubters, I won't use the word hater, but doubters of all time, what do you think of this team? What do you think of LJ being the pairing, or being the third for FK? Do you think there was any better option that they could have went with?
So we did not talk about this, but for a couple of days, it really looked like First Killer was going to be replacing Monkey Moon on Vitality, right? Yeah, making the jump over to EU and playing with Vitality. First Killer, Zen Exotic, that's a terrifying roster. But, First Killer is a fantastic player. He performed extremely well the last 2 LAN events. He could not get it done in NA. He could not get it done at a LAN. He kind of is doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? In my eyes, NRG is clearly the best team in NA, and it's not really close or up to debate. When they want to play well and when they play like they did in Lyon, no one beats them. right? They like to make it close. They like to start slow. They don't always come out swinging as much as they could, but LJFK is 2/3 of a team that couldn't beat them last year. Right? Kofer's an awesome player. I think the demos will open up a lot of space for First Killer. I think it will be a good roster. I still don't think we're not even talking about them as the best team in the region. It's not even a debate. Yeah. So in my eyes, why not try something drastically different and go to EU and play with Zen? Why would you? The money for Vitality's got to be pretty nice.
Yeah,
and Zen.
The biggest thing that came up was not only the language barrier, but also he'd be uprooting his life and moving it to Europe, which is a big thing, a big ask. But on top of that, the LJ pairing, LJ and FK were the front guys, and Chronic was the third man. He sat back and defended. That's not Kofer's position. Kofer isn't sitting back. He's the demo guy. He's up there with them. So I feel like they're going to be the most hyper-aggressive team in all of Rocket League.
So how would you classify Daniel?
He's a midfielder.
Daniel likes to play third man of his own admission, right? Because he generally gets more space to do mechanical things and do crazy shit. LJ is the same way. LJ does not get to play like that generally because Chronic was that for Genji or yeah.
And our Ultimates?
Ultimates,
Chronic?
yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Whoa. He was, that was the role for Ultimates. When he was playing with SSG still, he was the best player on the team, so they made him first man. I think maybe you unlock a little bit more from LJ by putting back at third man. That we'll have to wait and see on that one because LJ is a fantastically mechanical player. He does not always perform, similar to FK in my opinion, at least to a different degree. When the lights are brightest, he kind of tends to not show up as much. Whereas in this case, for First Killer, he showed up, he played fantastically, but they couldn't get the results, right? So, at some point, it has to not be First Killer's teammates' fault, and it's got to be partially First Killer's responsibility. Maybe he's doing something playstyle-wise. Maybe he's monkeying too much. Maybe, he's doing something that is making it harder for his teammates, playing hero ball, whatever it is that he decides that he needs to do. But, hopefully for his sake at least, he can figure it out for RLCS 26.
I was going to say, the also part you didn't put in this, their coach signing was Violent Panda.
Yes.
He was one of the biggest coaches in all of RLCS.
Moving away from Dignitas, too, might I add.
Yeah. Who he coached into being one of the best teams in EU until they weren't on Lions. But that's a completely different topic.
Although they played awesome in Raleigh.
Yeah, they played awesome in Raleigh. They won a regional Carmine Corp, which seemed impossible unless you were a GK with plot armor. So it was
even with Ajorias, who refuses to play on Saturday until Raleigh.
Yeah, until Raleigh. But yeah, no, I think even with that, the Violent Panda signing as their coach is also going to be huge. I know you don't have as much faith in them as I do, but I think this is going to be a team that's going to compete with NRG. Will SSG compete with NRG? To be decided. We'll see how Diaz meshes with Reveal. Chronic kind of just exists. I don't think he's a game changer, but I don't think he's going to hurt the team. We'll just see how it all meshes. I think NA's getting a ton more interesting. Obviously, none of these signings are official, but they're all pretty much expected to be happening. So I think NA, we're in for a roller coaster. It's either going to be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. And also, who knows if any of these rosters stick? They could all implode by the first transfer window.
They certainly could. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. The last thing that I want to mention before we finish up for today, what do you make of Sandrock tweeting again?
Oof, are they coming back? I mean,
they haven't tweeted since they transferred their roster to Falcons.
Yeah, I was gonna say either they're either someone hacked their account, they're trolling, or just sprinkling the like dipping their toes in the water, so you can see what's up here. Like, hey, you guys, I'm still interested in some Sandrock.
In Civic might be warming up the kitchen. Might be getting ready to chef it up. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah. Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting. But anything else you want to mention before we wrap up for today?
I'll be announcing my transfer from SSG to Shop. I'm just kidding. I'm a huge fan of Rocket League, so I'm just gonna be rooting for teams in general. I'm a huge FK supporter and also huge fan of Kofor, so I'm just gonna be rooting for teams now. Obviously, SSG at the end of the day. I don't know. I'm excited for Rocket League. All these roster changes are getting me more excited for it, and then I'm getting really sad at the fact that we still have to wait a month and a half before we see any of this happening. But it is interesting, and I am looking forward to it all so greatly. The real question is, where's Rise and Monkey Moon going? No one has an answer.
Maybe they team together. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But with that, we would like to thank you all so much for listening. We'd like to remind everyone that this podcast is proudly brought to you by our name level supporters on Patreon, Alyssa B. Please remember to rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. Share the show, tell a friend. It all helps us grow our audience and improve the show. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Twitch, which we're currently live streaming on right now. And come join our Discord. Come talk some ball. It's always a good time. Make sure to support us by checking out our merch store and our Patreon. This is how we fund the show and do giveaways. All of these links and more can be found on our website at boostoverball.com. And from us here on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball. See ya!
Thanks for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website at boostoverball.com.